Are we live here? So good morning, and, good afternoon, and good evening to people in other time zones. We are, Noah and I are here in Boulder, Colorado, and we're delighted to be with you here today. Woo! This is our Accelebration moment. So got a lot of really juicy things that we're going to talk about. Good afternoon and good evening to people in other time zones. We are Noah and I are here in Boulder, Colorado, and we're delighted to be.
There we go.
Okay,
we're getting the live video sorted out.
All righty. Now, so there's a lot we're going to share, and there are moments here during this hour program where we're going to be just stopping to invite in comments and questions. But we'd actually like you to drop any comments and questions in to your humanities.team or Facebook screen as you like. So as Noah and I are bannering on here, talking about this Accelebration program and unity consciousness and humanity stream and lots of fun things that we're going to get into, we want to just invite you to anywhere during the hour, drop in a question or a comment, and Noah and I will grab it and respond. So thanks. I'm looking forward. Now, and let me just, I mentioned Noah's name here a few times. Just say, welcome, Noah. This is what a blast here, huh?
And welcome, Steve.
Yeah, thank you
for setting this up. This is I just like to say that we're having fun with this whole setup here as we're working together in Boulder. So we figure we might as well have a genuine conversation on a couch rather than be in two different rooms in front of a computer screen.
Right. And just so you know, actually, this is, you're looking at our new office space here. Noah and I, our recording studio and offices and things are on this lower level of my home, which we've now, we've made sovereign to Humanities Team. So, and it's a gorgeous day here. You can see, lots of light coming in here in Boulder, Colorado. We have over 300 days of sunlight a year. Isn't that interesting? More than San Diego or Miami. Who would guess? So we're blessed, and we hope the weather in your part of the world is gorgeous. I'm sure it is. So now, some of the things that Noah and I want to get to is first the team named this an Accelebration program. So Noah, you want to, why do we name it an Acceleration program?
Well,
let's walk that in.
I'd just like to give a shout out to the comments that says, I love Accelebration. And well, we have this creative and awesome team, and we were wondering what to call this. We've held things like this before, and we've called them community calls, but we have all sorts of different community calls, and we wanted this one to stand out. So somebody, it was either Karen or Garth or Dee or somebody, Ephraim, I think it was Karen. We want something unique, and we're accelerating your evolution, we're celebrating. And Karen said, well, what if it's an Accelebration? We can combine these two into one word as an Accelebration. And Garth said that's exactly what we're doing here. So we're accelerating our evolution, we're accelerating our awareness, our awakening, we're accelerating our joy, our just the fullness of our being in love state. And it's a celebration because it's this eternal state of oneness, which I know, Steve, you'll bring in the fruit of this journey, the fruit of just being on this path. So welcome to the Accelebration.
Yes, indeed. Beautiful Accelebration. We love it. So let's talk about this conscious journey, because this, of course, is what Humanities Team has been devoted to for 18 years, all the way back to June 2003, when we were launched in Wilsonville, Oregon. And the way we talk about that now is that we, as a global nonprofit, we are a nonprofit organization, that our focus is on supporting people on their conscious journey, creating planetary awakening, and manifesting flourishing at all levels of life, which is to say then in our own life, in our relationship, in our home, with coworkers, community, state, country, world. So This conscious journey is what we're devoted to. That actually brings in planetary awakening. It brings in flourishing, and we want to. We're gonna kind of go down into what the expressions of consciousness are. Before we do, let me share one of the things that we're going to talk a good deal about is Humanity Stream, is our new streaming platform for our master classes and programs and our live programs and virtual programs and all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, because it's our way in Humanity's team of just gathering all of the stuff, the different kinds of programs that we can create and offer to the world as streamed content. A lot of it, some of it is live like this, to support our conscious journey. So, which is to say, to support this unity consciousness that's unfolding in the world. Some people call it heaven on earth. Some people call it oneness, and it's fully, where it's fully manifested. So these are the things that we're focused on as a global nonprofit, is manifesting this. And we're having a blast putting all of these different things into Humanity Stream, the streaming platform, to support people all over the world who are on this conscious journey. So now, Noah, let's have some fun. We do this all day long, you and I, working together, and with the team, Garth Catterall, Dee Meyer, Karen Gordon, other members of the team. Those are three actually that are here supporting this program right at this moment. But so we like to often talk about what the fruit of the conscious journey is. So it's not some big abstract notion of, oneness and unity consciousness and new spirituality and heaven on earth. What is that? What are practical applications of that? Noah, do you want to share? For you, what are some of the things you'd bring in?
I think the thing that stands out first, Steve, is this understanding that oneness, the idea of oneness and the practice and the embodiment of oneness as a practice, as something to focus upon, as just the thing we keep in mind through the day, wherever we may be doing, if we're at work or at home or in between or sleeping, that oneness, this value, that it's not a sacrifice. There's no sacrifice involved in this concept. All too often, I find that people think that this unity consciousness, that we have to sacrifice something individually in order to embody this and in order to reap the fruits. Essentially, the line of thinking is sometimes maybe, well, for the good of the whole, I'll need to give up something myself. But that's not true. The truth is that in order for our own, and at least in my experience, and I think our experience at Humanity's team and what we're sharing, is that in order for ourselves individually to experience the greatest fulfillment of our individual experience, we must adopt oneness, because it's the ultimate truth. It's the truth that made us. And this is the truth that we can call God, we can call oneness, we can call cosmos, or any number of things. But this is what has made us. And if we're aligned with our source of being, then we're doing what is in our own best interest. So there's no sacrifice in this journey. We don't need to give things up. If we're shedding something, then we don't need it. But we're never being called to give something up that we don't need. And I know, Steve, you probably have other things to bring in with this.
Well, that's for sure. I'd certainly echo what you're sharing here, Noah. And yeah, there's so many things that we can talk about here. By the way, here we'd love for you to drop your comments for you. What is this conscious journey? What is the fruit of it? Love to hear your thoughts on that. I see some things are coming up on the screen now, so we'll get to those here in just a moment. But what perennial wisdom says is that this unity consciousness, this conscious journey, is actually ultimate reality. So, I mean, it's oftentimes the worldview is that's something out there that is envisioned, that is imagined or something. It's actually just the opposite. See, that ultimate reality in today's world is, well, everything is separate. Our eyes Don't deceive us. We're clearly separate. The earth is separate. The divine is somewhere up there, separate. And so that's the wisdom in for most people in the world today. But what scientists have been proving, quantum physicists, biologists, geologists, and so on, is that actually everything is deeply connected, that we're all deeply interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. And that in fact, everything is one thing. So what our astronomer teachers in college taught us, the bit where they talked about the Big Bang, it was all, at one time, it was just this little thing, and then it blew up. And then it's this living, breathing thing. Then it's going back, and then it blows. That is the oneness. what our astronomer teachers shared in college is true. That the universe is living and breathing, and it's one. And there's this deep connection. And so now, but what does that feel like? So Noah's bringing in, well, what it doesn't feel like is some sacrifice, which is so true. And I'm not sure that there's an objective statement we could make of, oh, well, it definitely feels like this and this and this. It's more our subjective experience, but some things I would share. So just like you right this moment, let's just really tune in to, well, what does this feel like right now? So what it feels like right now to me is we use the term flow, where we're just kind of this effortless and ease thing. It feels like that. It feels like we use this term presence, where we feel that that divine presence is actually everywhere and within, and even streaming right in this moment, streaming through our chakras, and that we're actually an expression of it, that we're deeply connected to it. I feel that right now in this moment. I feel, and then when I surrender to it, or share that I'm now in service to it, that my well is its well. When I do these things, then I feel that I become its arms and legs and its beating heart in the world, as I believe we all do when we surrender to it, when we say, my will is your will. So now we're actually not only in a flow with it, we're actually now doing its work in the world, which is what all of us in humanities team feel into, that we're doing its work in the world, that when we say we're supporting the conscious journey, when we're supporting planetary awakening and flourishing, that's its work in the world. And we're here to accelerate it, accelerate it and celebrate it. So those are some of the things I'd walk in. The last thing I'll share is, so for me, like if I go back to my early years when I was unconscious, it's ending resistance. So, and what I mean by that is that, and maybe you can relate, that I would be inspired or to do something, or to make decisions, to go on a life path, in a certain direction. And sometimes I would want to do that, and other times I wouldn't. And when I wouldn't is when I'm in resistance, where I'm feeling that this is really my journey and I don't follow through, then I'm in resistance. Whereas when on the conscious journey, I use this word flow, I'm ending resistance. I'm following that internal guidance, that I want to be an expression of it. I don't want to say no to it ever, because I understand it's my highest self and my highest good. So I'll just walk those things in. No, I don't. You could share some more, and I know we have some things on camera.
Yeah, we have. I'd like to just bring in some of the beautiful comments that we've been receiving. Maureen says, as a fractal embedded into the wholeness, oneness, when we breathe together, we enhance our coherence. Patricia says we can embrace this truth from wherever we are and whatever we are doing. Patricia says, wonderful point. No need for sacrifice to embrace the concept of unity, and so forth. And we have just so many awesome. We have somebody brings in a quote from Michael B. Beckwith saying, wherever you are, there's no judgment. God does not judge. God doesn't even forgive because God doesn't see anything to forgive. God only sees the potential of itself expressing, but you have to see it in order to activate it. And this is Michael B. Beckwith, who, of course, is on one of our master classes
Right.
and countless interviews and summits and humanities team.
Yeah, Michael Beckwith, love him. He has this masterclass called "You Are Limitless" with Panache Desai, which is a part of our humanities stream. So we'll talk about that. Well, beautiful. And this is something that's so important on these weekly programs, which by the way, are every other Friday. We'll do them early like this. So this one started at 9 Pacific, goes till 10 Pacific. And then every other Friday, it'll start at 3 Pacific and go to 4 Pacific. So we've got a morning and afternoon. And that way we're hopefully fitting into more people's schedule. Sometimes early works better for people and other times late. And Friday is a fun time to do this, isn't it? Because this is Accelebration includes celebration. And Fridays are kind of fun that way. They're a little lighter. We're ending the week. So, okay, let's now segue over to Humanity Stream and just talk about it a little bit. This was our set of programs that we put in place that are streamed with the objective of supporting people on their conscious journey. We internally, with our team and humanities team, we said, what are all the things that we could put in place now that would support unity consciousness and oneness, the new spirituality, these different names, heaven on earth. What are the things, if humanities team is a nonprofit, we're going to just package up all of the stuff that we think is the most valuable, the coolest, the most community oriented, what are those things? And let's put them into Humanities Stream. And Noah, let me come over to you. So what are some of the things that we've packaged up?
Yeah, well, let me also just, I guess, ease into this by saying that we are well aware that starting a conscious journey may seem daunting, and there are so many people that are drawn to humanities team, or even those that aren't, that we hear, where do you start? What am I supposed to do? Do I read a book? Which book? Am I supposed to meditate? For how long? How am I supposed to meditate? Should I quit my job? All these questions, when somebody begins this journey of starting to, hone the questions down into one question, which we can say is, what is this? Or why am I here? Who is God? These are, but we can maybe think of this as the same question. What is this experience? Why am I here? And so when people start to question this and awaken into consciousness, it can seem daunting, this journey. And because the whole world seems so confusing. There's so many options and so much to choose from. And this says this, but then that source says that. And I'm not sure which is right. So humanities team is our way of, at least in one regard, is our way of, as Steve is saying, consolidating pretty much everything that we have in terms of viewing material and master classes and summits and other films and so forth into one easy to use platform. So traditionally, master classes in transformational education are offered as their own thing. You take this master class, then you have to take a different one. But what we're offering is a platform that combines all the master classes in one platform, combines all of our summits in one platform, combines pretty much all the interviews. Steve has, I don't know how many interviews, hundreds of interviews through the years of humanities team. We have now, at this moment, we have 10 master classes in there of just masters of the craft in this space, just highlighting different points on this conscious journey. And maybe you can think about this, and this is another thing that you can think about, and we can keep this in mind. And here's another practice. And so, Humanities Stream, I see it as just a step. It's a symbol. It's a symbolic statement that when somebody joins Humanity Stream, it's I value the conscious journey. And so I will honor these masters who have perhaps considered the same questions that I'm thinking about, and just absorb all this that comes our way. And even more so, I think I'd like to pass this off to you, Steve, and get your take, is Humanity Stream is not just about inspiration. As we like to say, these calls are the inspiration, and it's great to share this inspiration for this hour or however long we have together, and just to hear the chats and so forth. But then the call ends, and then what? And so Humanity Stream is this platform, not just for the inspiration, but also to build the skills so that when the inspiration has gone, when we're in some real world situation and somebody is pushing our buttons, or we're anxious, or we're nervous, or frightened, that we have the skills we're equipped with the skills to properly, you know, enjoy what is brought to us, and allow it to flow through us. So I'm hoping, Steve, you can speak a bit more about the skills building piece.
Absolutely. Yes. So when the integral theory, of course, says that there's waking up, and then there's growing up, and then there's showing up, and then there's cleaning up, all of these things, right? And we've put all of these kinds of things in here so that, yes, it's inspiring, but these programs also are skills building. So we're acquiring the skills to really live deeply as conscious people. So, for example, Healing the Past is one of our master classes in the program, and that's Thomas Hubel and Joan Borisenko. And what we realize working with these two amazing leaders is that actually all of us have or are suffering from trauma in our life. Many people have continuing trauma. People call it PTSD sometimes. But most of us have some kind of trauma from our upbringing, from a work circumstance, a relationship circumstance, a financial circumstance that just holds us back. We can't be living in the fullness of that present moment, like right now. Living fully right here, right now, because we're not just dragged to the past of something that has happened that's kind of a thorn in our side that's continuing. So this particular masterclass helps to extricate those thorns, just pull them out and heal them. So we can be fully present. Other ones we mentioned, You Are Limitless, which is Panache Desai and Michael Beckwith, which traces their journey from these just normal people growing up, teenagers and people going through college, to these masters now of embodiment and expression of unity, consciousness, and oneness, of limitlessness. Our Final Frontier with Neil Donald Walsh, that gets into this whole discussion of, brings in all of the wisdom of the 10 Conversations with God books, and talks about the earth that we inhabit, our final frontier, because most of us can't afford and don't want to go to Mars. We're going to live here. And it talks about how we can do that intentionally, metaphysically, lovingly, truthfully, joyfully. I have a program called Conscious Leadership that's getting into my whole journey, which is, I call it a U-turn, where I was in Silicon Valley just doing the American dream thing, which is very material and very financially lucrative and rewarding, to just realizing that that's really a kid's game, where that, where pursuing top and bottom line growth, or revenue and profitability are the key objectives. Especially at this time when there's so much going on in the world, so many challenges, so many things we can be paying attention to. So this where on the left side, we're unconscious and maybe enjoying the fruits of the American dream, and then releasing that unconscious, owning these companies, unconscious relationships, releasing that, coming down the U, and then preparing to go up the other side of the U, where we're conscious, and we're attracting conscious coworkers, and our our relationships at home are conscious. And the work that we're doing is this whole service and surrender thing that we were talking about earlier, where we're in flow and where we feel presence and we've given up resistance and where there is no sacrifice. All these things that Noah and I were just talking about, where the fruit of all of that is here on the right side of the U. And talking about it in a leadership context, where I'm bringing in where we're professionals and where we're visioning into this and creating opportunities to serve, like what we do in humanities team for example, and where we're working together in a culture of that, where we don't need to be right or anything, where we're just serving a higher agenda, and where we're in flow together, which is really we could have an hour-long discussion just on that, the fruit of that, which is, and the boomerang effect that we sometimes call, where we're throwing ourselves out in this pure service. And then all of these blessings come back of, wow, how did that happen? The synchronicity is happening over, which is the blessing and the fruit of this work. So that's a little bit on conscious leadership. Now, and Noah mentioned also all of these programs that we do with leaders where Deepak Chopra and Desmond Tutu and Marianne Williamson and many others are on these programs. And there are 350 plus of them. And when we look at these master classes, our most popular master classes, and all of these programs, there are over 450 hours of content at the present time. So that's getting to the content that's streamed. Now, let's mention some other things, because Noah was saying, well, what are, we're building skills. So, and what are other things, that are here in Humanities Stream? And so we'll open up that discussion and just say, so community actually is a huge element. So like right now, and you're putting comments on the screen, and thank you, viewers, community, where we're experiencing this together, where it isn't just it's like a Netflix, a mindless thing of, I'm going to watch this movie for an hour and a half and then it's over, and then I'll go do something else, just mindless. This is conscious, where it's intentional of, these are skills I want to build, and I want to hang out then in community with these people, like on a program like this. And then I want to just have my life accelerate, toward the fullness of who I can be consciously. Now, so let's open up community. Noah, you built humanities.team, and we have other forms of community. Come in, please, with just really beautiful things that we do in community.
Sure. And just to note, we have a question from Mike saying, can you review our schedule? And so we're on this alternating schedule, Mike. Right this week, we're doing this call at this time. Next week, we'll be doing it later in the afternoon, and we'll post a calendar right on our webpage so that it's easy for everybody to understand. So I just recommend going to our webpage. Steve, I can't claim credit for building humanities.team. I kind of just flipped the right switches, because it's just a beautiful divine collaboration, and it's a community. So there's no one person that can build a community. What we found in offering our master classes, particularly, one of the most critical ingredients in this process of building these skills is to be able to share the teachings with others that are in the same kind of boat, so to speak. It's pretty difficult to just be on your own in a silo and to let things soak in. A Course in Miracles says that in order to learn, we must teach. So kind of in a way, we need a community in order to fully embody these things. We can't just be isolated. So we were always using other social media platforms and so forth, but humanities.team, we felt a calling to start this one, because many of the, we hadn't seen a social network that was built on this conscious journey, built in spiritual truths and principles, and built on joy and love and collaboration and communication. And this is what this network is about. It's pretty much brand new. we just kind of opened the door a bit wider for more people to enter in. And we invite anybody that's listening to this call, whether you may be on humanities.team now, and we thank you. We hope you have an account and feel free to sign up or just look at what's posted. If you're not, go over to humanities.team and just check it out. The beauty of this network is, first of all, the people that are on here are all on the same page of, I don't want to just connect with people for some, unknown reason. I value this conscious journey. I value spirituality and just sitting in the truth of communication. And this is how I want to connect with people. And this is what our network is about. The beautiful thing about this, which we didn't foresee, is that it allows the whole community, which at this point, there's about 400 members on the community, to create these subgroups. We're getting to the point where there's there's so many people that the community in itself is kind of too big of a community. So in this community, we have this opportunity to form these subgroups. So you can form a group for conversations with God, and people can gather here and just talk about conversations with God, and maybe host Zoom calls and so forth. We have a group for A Course in Miracles. We have other small groups for our master classes. So it's a great way to come just meet people that are on this conscious journey. It's a great way also to organize groups, small groups that for people that are building a program or hosting discussion groups. Come over to humanities.team, because this is where this thrives.
Beautiful. Thank you, Noah. And we're going to show you the interface to Humanities Stream here shortly. Boy, don't get confused here. Humanities.team, Humanities Stream, Humanities Team. So fortunately, they're all interconnected.
They're all good.
They're all good, and they all contribute. When you go to the humanitiesteam.org site, you'll see all of these things. They're featured, and you can learn a lot more about them. So let me just say now, as we're talking about community and these other elements in Humanities Stream, that so Noah's mentioning humanities.team. There are private Facebook pages as well for the master classes that are, so these are threaded conversations just around these popular master classes that we were just reviewing. There are these weekly calls, the mentoring programs that are live in Humanities Stream you're brought into. So here in February and March, there are 4 live mentoring sessions that are coming up, 2 with Deborah Poneman, who's just terrific, and Christy Whitman, 2 programs with Christy Whitman. These are live programs just like this, where they're on camera. And actually in these programs, they can also, there's the opportunity for you to speak with them on camera or just share your questions. But you're live there face-to-face with, in this case, Deborah Poneman and Christy Whitman. And then after that is a program with Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, and Lynn McTaggart, where they're live doing mentoring. So there are these live mentoring programs throughout the year. These are just a couple of programs that are just around the corner. The year 2021 is amazing. I won't try and go through all of what is there, but the live mentoring programs are thrown in. When we do Global Oneness Summit, those upgrades are thrown in for free. When we do give our Spiritual Leadership Award, and we've shared, this year we're giving our Spiritual Leadership Award to Greg Braden, who's a beautiful expression of unity, consciousness, and oneness. In September is that award ceremony, and you will come in with our internal team for that first 30 minutes where it's just us and Greg just bantering back and forth. So these are some of the things. Also, each of these new programs that come on, they're free. And the whole program is, by the way, $39.99 a month. There's an annual amount that it comes to just a little less than 480. So it's $39.99 a month. And then all of these things, the master classes, the 350 other hours, these virtual programs, these live programs, the upgrades to Global Oneness Summit, Spiritual Leadership Program, all of this stuff is included. So, and it's our way programmatically in Humanities Team to address this: showing up, waking up, cleaning up, process. So basically where we're building the awareness and the skills to really be conscious and to live consciously. As we wrap this segment and get to your questions, and then we're going to go to another segment here during the call, we'll just come back to how this is different, like from Netflix or Amazon Prime. You know, a lot of people love just really chilling out and watching these kinds of programs, entertainment programs, and they certainly have their place. But you know, in Humanities Team, we share now when we talk about effective and fun and really living our life to its fullest extent. I mean, is there anything cooler than making real quality time for masterclass programs, these other programs, and these virtual communities and these live programs that are supporting us in getting consciously to what is our lifetime focus and activity. You know, most of us have a vision for where we want to be in our life, what the fullness of that vision is. And all of these Humanities Stream programs support that. So it's the furthest thing from just mindlessly watching something for 90 minutes and turning it off and saying, well, I wonder what I'll do next. This is much more intentional, much more metaphysical, much more nurturing, supportive, and it's in community with other people like ourselves that are conscious and that we love hanging out with. So why don't we, this might be a good time to go ahead and just go over to the page. Noah and I were going to share a module. So this is like a watch party thing where we're going to now go into, I mentioned my conscious leadership program. The module 8 in the program is called Contribute to the Conscious Evolution Movement. And they're in this program, in this masterclass called Conscious Leadership, I have my own modules, and then I have a lot of these guest modules. This one is with Lynn McTaggart. And again, it's called Contribute to the Conscious Evolution Movement. And of course, Lynn McTaggart is a huge contributor to the Conscious Evolution Movement. We'll look at the interface here for Humanities Stream. And I think we've got it on camera now. Or we're going on camera so you can see it. So this is when you go to humanitiesteam.org and scroll down, you'll see come into the interface that actually read a bit about it, and then you can go over to this site. You can just go to humanitiestream.tv if you want to take the shortcut, humanitiestream.tv, and then you'll land on this interface, which is Netflix or Amazon like. So here Noah's now just showing you how easy this is. So he just types in Lynn McTaggart and boom, she comes up, and here's module 8. And we'll watch it together. It's about 15 minutes, and then we're going to take.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Lynn McTaggart, a special guest to the Conscious Leadership Program. She is joining me to discuss module number 8, Contribute to the Conscious Evolution Movement. I'm going to briefly introduce you to her now. Lynn McTaggart is an international best-selling author and a dynamic, inspirational speaker who is consistently voted one of the top 100 spiritual leaders for her groundbreaking work with consciousness and the power of intention. She's chiefly known for the quality of writing and in-depth research and her books, The Field, The Intention Experiment, and The Bond, all international sensations and now in 30 languages. These are considered seminal classics of the new science. She's also architect of the Intention Experiment, a global laboratory involving thousands of readers around the world testing the power of group thoughts to heal the world, which Dan Brown featured by name in The Lost Symbol. And welcome to the Conscious Leadership Masters Program, Lynn. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be with you.
All right, I'm going to jump right in because there's so many things that I'd really love to get to here with you. So let me just start with this. This module is, of course, about contributing to the conscious evolution movement. And so the context here is what we see when we look out on the world, which are these severe challenges, this decision point moment, you could call it, where on the one side, there's the potential for regression or devolution, and many feel that's where we're stuck and where we're going. And on the other side is conscious evolution, this journey into planetary awakening. Do you want to just talk to that here briefly, Lynn?
Sure. I mean, I think, as many people have talked about, as we worry, watching unprecedented changes and disruption our various systems, whether it's political, economic, and many other social systems, our corporate issues, where we have corruption beyond our wildest imaginings, where everything seems to be falling to pieces. This is probably good news, in my view, as many others. There's a sense that something is ending, but what's ending fundamentally is the false sense of who we really are. And in that ending is our path to a better future.
Yes, wow. So we need breakdown in order to get breakthrough is kind of how I'm hearing that.
Absolutely. I mean, we are coming to the end of days in that essential belief that we are separate and meant to be competitive. I mean, I wrote about this in my book, The Bond, and in my latest book, by the way, The Power of Eight. But what I really discovered in researching both those books was that, many things write the story by which we live, but the biggest author of all is science. Science tells us how the world is constructed, and from there we determine how we're supposed to live. Now, the scientific story for 300 plus years has been a very bleak story of separate things, separate and well-behaved things that operate according to fixed laws in time and space, but they're separate, solitary things. And that is thanks to many of the ideas of Isaac Newton, which were then bolstered by the work of Charles Darwin, which was essentially interpreted to mean life as war, life as struggle, survival of the fittest. There isn't enough to go around, so we have to proceed through struggle, and we have to, beat the other guy out and get there first. So that and has really powered the Industrial Revolution. These ideas really powered colonialism, the idea of one stock being superior to another. Hitler loved Darwin, but it's also really been the leitmotif of modern life. The idea that we proceed and we advance through competition. So when I really challenged that in my book, The Bond, I looked at, were we meant to be competitive? And the answer is resoundingly no. We were meant to connect. Human beings need belonging more than they need food and water, essentially. I mean, we need to belong so desperately that they find that in the main, suicides kill themselves because of what psychologists call excessive individuation. They feel left out, and being left out is something we cannot bear. Connecting with other people protects us from everything, from strokes and heart disease to the common cold. So we need desperately to connect. And we need to give. We need fairness, which is why our economic system is breaking down, why there's so much anger and voting and the rise of much populism, because life's unfair as it is now. The system is rigged, the system is corrupt, and people recognize that. I discovered we need fairness. We have in ourselves the desire to give. So we have all of these senses that haven't been acknowledged, that are really the true nature of humanity. And so what needs to happen really is a reclaiming of these features as being primary, and a system change that honors, recognizes, and supports this.
Yeah, boy, amen to that. And it's shocking that Newton lived from the late 1600s to the mid 1700s. And then Darwin after him, so they haven't been around for a long time. And yet the things that you're talking about, oneness and quantum physics, it's talking about connection, and of course then community comes in from connection. These aren't new ideas. Erwin Schrödinger was 1933, the Nobel Prize winner for physics, and many, yourself and Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Nassim Haramein and many scientists have made it their life work to write books and create seminars and retreats and programs to talk about what is true, which is what you're sharing here. It's interesting isn't the right word, but that is taking so long for the true nature for ultimate reality and the true nature of humanity to become, for people to become clear on.
Yeah, and I think the problem was we were watching such technological advancement from the industrial age, thanks to these ideas. We were seeing such, rapid rise of globalization and international trade and all of those things that we kind of left our humanity at the door. We were so excited about these technological breakthroughs that we weren't thinking about its effect on our spirituality, its effect on fairness, any of those things. And what I found really interesting in researching those areas and what needs to happen for us to change as I do in the bond, was a fundamental change that removes us from, I win, you lose, to when we all win, then I win too. And it sounds like such a simple idea, but they found, one of the real important factors that I found that brings people together who are polarized is a thing that Mustafa Sharif discovered with one of the most beloved psychological studies of all time. He took a batch of 12-year-old boys, put them in 2 buses, and brought them to a camp. And watching all of this from the sidelines was a batch of social psychologists who were disguised as camp counselors. And so they put these guys into 2 groups. They didn't have them meet each other. They had them create separate names, separate living quarters, and they engaged them in highly competitive games and rigged it so that it would be super competitive. Well, the kids ended up hating each other. They were ripping up each other's flags and raiding their living quarters. And they wouldn't even eat together. So the scientists then created a series of crises in the camp that could only be sorted by the collective efforts of everyone involved. So they put a truck in the ditch, and the boys had to pull it out together. They had to work together to pull it out. They put an impediment in the water supply. The boys had to work together to pull it out. And after doing a number of these things, a miracle happened. The boys started eating together. They started befriending each other. And at the very end of the camp, they unanimously voted to ride home on the same bus together. And one of the winners of one of the groups, one of the leaders, used all his prize money to buy ice creams for the whole batch. And so this is called a superordinate goal, the idea of a goal that can only be achieved by the collective efforts of everyone involved. And that's essentially what we need right now. We need creation of ideas and new plans that require everybody to work together, because it's been shown over and over and over again to be the way that brings the community together.
Yeah, so true. And I love that you started with the whole fascination with technology here as a problem. And I think that's true. I think, in the United States, with the focus on Silicon Valley and new technologies, I come from Silicon Valley myself. But the fascination with technology, just for the sake of technology evolution and entrepreneurship, it really did and is something that is out of hand in terms of over-focus, versus the age-old truths back to Jesus's time, where what was demonstrated is where we're altruistic, where we're in support of the one, where we stop on a journey where somebody needs our assistance, and help somebody. We're helping them, we're helping ourselves, and we're in a sense throwing this boomerang out that comes back, a boomerang of service. And it turns out that service is actually the thing that creates joy. This is the whole community thing you're bringing in here as well, that where we're in service to community, where we feel a part of the one, not in this whole model of separation, but in ultimate reality of oneness, that deep connection. That's where we find joy, isn't it?
Well, I found it really fascinating to look at some Harvard research that looked at communities across the country and was looking at what's the dollar amount that people need to be happy. And they expected people were going to say, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it wasn't. It was $75,000. And by that, they meant, and this was all across the country, so it covered, different economic areas. What made them happy was being able to pay their bills. No amount above that made them any happier. But the thing that really made them happy was connection and service. And that's been found to be also the case in studies of, there was a study that compared people who had the so-called good life. They were living the dream. They had all the money in the world. They were going on all the vacations they wanted. They had all the things and stuff. And when they looked at their immune system markers, they were terrible. These guys were going to be, dying of Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, a host of degenerative diseases. They were going to be dropping like flies. When they compared them to people who were not as affluent but lived a life of service, these guys had hugely robust immune systems. They were going to live forever. So that gets us back to this whole idea once again. We were always meant to be in communities, which is why I always encourage people to create Power of 8 groups, because I feel that the new systems going forward are going to be created from small groups.
Yes, and you've brought that point through, and it is so powerful where we're deeply aligned with our small group, which is important because you have to be in vision alignment really to powerfully manifest, and it's just a lot more fun too. But where conscious leadership can go further, faster, where we're working in groups. So thanks for bringing that through. Len, as we wrap this and this segment that's talking about contributing to the conscious evolution movement, for all these leaders globally who are, I think, very vision aligned with you, and who are dedicating their lives to planetary awakening, living into the unity of all of life, and bringing, manifesting abundance for their families too. Do you have, some final words, a call to action to them that you'd like to leave?
Well, I think happening in little places all around the world, there are, millions of small groups working for incredible change. So I think what we need to do is continue on with the small group approach, because, Margaret Mead said, these small groups change. And I think that's true. I think don't keep looking for the big change, the big group effect, having to amass millions. We don't necessarily need to change it from the top down. It would be nice to, but if we look at, for instance, America's political situation, the Congress now, the executive and the legislative are so corrupt. It's such a mess. Don't look to it there. Look to it by making revolutionary change from small groups. And I really, as I say, once again, encourage people. A group of 8 can change the world.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. I'll bring in Margaret Mead's quote that you were just referring to, which I have right here on my wall. And it's, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So beautiful. Lynn, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this Conscious Leadership Program. Gratitude, dear friend.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, Steve.
All right, and we are back here from Boulder, Colorado with you here, Noah and myself. And Tim Noah goes by Noah. Great again to be with you here on this Friday. We're now in a wrapping phase because we've only got about 5 more minutes here as we share with you on this Friday. Wow, I want to say thank you to Lynn again for that really fantastic commentary, this bringing in research that of course supports as a foundation conscious living, and her whole lifetime focus on small groups, and the power of intention. Of course, she's done such great work out in the world, and many people have come to our team sharing that they first learned about oneness actually from Lynn McTaggart, where because Lynn shares in all of her materials, her retreats, seminars, etc., that this whole separation thing is an illusion, that we're actually all connected, that we're all one. Noah, I want to go over to you. What are your inspirations coming out of this program with Lynn?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. The part that stands out to me is where she brings in this concept of not being distracted by large numbers and to think that we need to impact millions and so forth. And this is the whole teaching of oneness, is that it starts with ourself. And this is all that we really need to focus upon, is ourself and our perspective of others. And even if we have a small group, we don't need to be distracted with maybe the thoughts of limitation, that there could be more. Just doing the best that we can in our own life, and with a small group can have just monumental changes later on. And I think that's what we're all called to do now in our own small group, on our own, small group, which ends actually as a large group when we really think about it, and our own whole life. So this is beautiful, and not to get distracted by numbers, and to just be the fullest that we can be in our own experience.
Yes, absolutely. And small groups, this is a great opportunity to just talk about how that fits also into Humanity Stream, as we were just reviewing all of these things that are in these streamed programs, live programs, mentoring, etc. We didn't get to that. And we're now, of course, in a 50-week program called Awaken the New Species in You. It's with the late Barbara Marx Hubbard, her sister, Patricia Ellsberg, and her daughter, Suzanne Hubbard, are also participating in the program with us. And this includes small groups where they're meeting. Also, my Conscious Leadership program that Lynn was a part of, we were just watching this module together, it also includes small groups. So small groups are important, they're powerful, and they're a whole lot of fun. I'll just mention, Dee Meyer likes to share this, that when we did the very first Awaken New Species in You program back in 2017, we did small groups. And this was, of course, with Barbara Marx Hubbard when we first launched it. And some of those small groups are still meeting today. So thank you, Lynn and Noah, for bringing in the importance and power of small groups. So we're going to leave the Humanity Stream discussion. Again, that's $39.99 a month. We've broken ground with this streamed product, where we're putting all of these 450 hours of programs and live programs and small groups and mentoring and virtual programs and all of these things together as an aid or complement, or as a support for your conscious journey. And invite you to just go to the humanitiesteam.org homepage, and you can scroll the page and you can read a lot more about Humanity Stream if you're not already a part of it. Some of you are already a part of Humanity Stream. By the way, we've got a lot of comments here too from people, and things that they're sharing that were inspiring for them during the hour. Thank you, viewers, for taking a moment to share those comments. One of the questions in the window was regarding mentoring, and there was just a request for clarification. So how does mentoring then fit into Humanity Stream? And we offer our master classes as a standalone product. Usually it's $297, and it has the live mentoring, at least when we do the first program, and then it's recorded mentoring. In Humanity Stream, when we do the live mentoring, Humanity Stream members, this is the $39.99 a month program, are invited into all of the live mentoring programs. So the one that we're about to go through now, called New Kind of Power with Deborah Poneman and Christy Whitman, has 4 live mentoring programs, and Humanity Stream members do participate in those, and all of the downstream programs too. So, and I think with that, we are actually out of time. We're right at the top of the hour. So let me just take this opportunity. Noah, thank you for joining me, brother. Thank you, viewers, for spending a little bit of your Friday here with us. Thank you, Dee Meyer, who heads Humanities Team Operations, Garth Catterall, who heads the IT operation, and Karen Gordon, who heads the communications operation. We all do, even though I share kind of their major responsibility, we all do everything in Humanities Team. They're here actually running this program and broadcasting it out to all of these different platforms. So thank you to our partners here that are making this program possible. Noah and I get to do the easy part. We get to just sit here and gab away.
Watch.
So we're going to be back with you next Friday in the afternoon, the 3 to 4 Pacific. And Noah likes to break out kombuchas, and sometimes we'll have a little tea, we'll, a glass of water, whatever is your favorite drink. Join us, and hey, let's have fun together in community as we journey together consciously to all of these good places in our life together, and in our own life and in our own homes, and at work too. Okay, so thanks for joining us. I hope this has been illuminating here as we talk about our conscious journey and this new streaming platform called Humanity Stream. And we'll see you next week. Namaste to all of you.